Hey, welcome to today's episode. I have a very juicy topic for you. We are going to be talking about should you focus on weight loss before starting intuitive eating, and should you work on your weight loss goals and achieve your weight loss goals and get to the place that you want to be and then transition to intuitive eating. For those of you who are new here, I'm Heather McConaughey. I'm a trained and licensed registered nurse who was an online weight loss coach for 5 years before becoming an intuitive eating counselor. And because I've healed my relationship to body and food, I want you to have that same experience. What I'm about is helping you heal your relationship to body and food through the 10 tools of intuitive eating without focusing on the scale or weight loss. So the reason I want to do this topic today is because I have heard this exact phrase from women. I have talked to women who are on the yo-yo dieting, weight cycling merry-go-round, coming to me wanting to lose the weight, right? When I was a weight loss coach, wanting to lose the weight, and they'd gained and lost the weight like 3, 4, 5, 6, multiple times. And they wanted to focus on losing the weight again that they had regained. And when I suggested, hey, actually, I think the best thing for you at this point is to focus on intuitive eating. Like, intentional weight loss has not worked for you. The reason that you haven't sustained it is because it does not work for you. And I think anytime that we're evaluating, making a decision for ourselves, we really have to think about, what's my lived experience? What's the reality of my situation? The reality of my situation is I gain and lose the same 20 pounds over and over again. The reality of my situation is my body tends to be at this particular size or weight. It tends not to be at this lower weight that maybe I've idealized. And so it's very easy to kind of lose sight of our lived experience and get overly focused on cultural ideals, our own ideals for our body, and get disconnected from our body's truth and where our body actually wants to be. One of the big things that I love to focus on with my clients is body attunement. So focusing on how your body feels from the inside out. That's called interoceptive awareness, and it's a key part of the intuitive eating journey and healing your relationship to body and food. So, someone comes to me, they just want to lose weight. They're like, oh, I'll just want to lose the weight first and then transition to intuitive eating. I've literally had people say that to me. Want to focus on losing the weight and then, let's transition to that. Here's the problem with that, y'all. That is not what intuitive eating is about. It is not a weight maintenance method. Now, for many people, what happens is their weight eventually stabilizes at their set point, which is their genetic blueprint, plus their natural lifestyle preferences that they've been doing for years that are habitual, that they're just not going to change, right? If you consistently drink 2 to 4 alcoholic drinks every week and you've done that for 8 years, you're going to continue to do that no matter what diet, program, fitness challenge, etc. that you do. Unless you have a heart change about a habit in your life and something profoundly shifts from your heart and it's actually a natural change for you in your inclinations or preferences in life, you will continue to repeat those habits that you've always done in the past, okay? It has to come from a very deep-rooted heart shift. It's like someone who is an alcoholic, they can stop drinking, but it's a profound heart and spiritual shift for them. It's not like they're just doing like a 12-week alcohol cleanse, right? Okay. And it's the same thing with your lifestyle habits. The things that you consistently do week after week, month after month, year after year, that's predictably what you're going to continue to do. And so if you try to intentionally lose the weight and then transition to intuitive eating, what's going to happen? You're going to regain the weight. Why? Because you artificially lowered your weight through pursuing intentional weight loss. Then, when you switch to what you think of as intuitive eating, which if you haven't actually done the work, worked the 10 principles, learned the 10 principles, integrated them, you're not actually intuitive eating. A lot of people think they're intuitive eating, but they're not intuitive eating, because intuitive eating is actually a research-based method that's been around for 25 plus years, and it's validated by numerous studies, and it actually has 10 principles. So if someone says they're intuitive eating, they're not, unless they've actually worked those principles. They might be just like eating unconsciously or eating whatever they want, but unless they've done that healing work and they've worked the principles, they're not actually truly intuitive eating according to the model, okay? So I think it's really important to make sure that you stop using the phrase intuitive eating unless you've actually worked the principles, unless you've actually mastered the 10 principles and you know what you're talking about. You know, I see fitness coaches and people who aren't qualified to talk about this use the phrase intuitive eating, and it's like, you're not actually intuitive eating, hon, okay? So I think it's important that you really think about what you want. Do you want to get off the yo-yo dieting and weight cycling merry-go-round? If that's what you want, then intuitive eating is the path for you. If you want to stay on the yo-yo dieting and weight cycling path, then the thing that you should do is keep pursuing intentional weight loss and then be prepared to regain it, okay? And you will continue to do that. If you continue to pursue intentional weight loss, you will yo-yo diet and weight cycle. If you want to get off the merry-go-round, you have to do something different. You have to pursue a different course of action, and that is intuitive eating. Intuitive eating is a healing journey. It is designed to help you heal your relationship with food. It's not a weight maintenance program that you transition to after you've lost weight. So 3 things will happen to your size/weight on intuitive eating. 1, you will gain weight. 2, you will lose weight. 3, you will maintain weight. If you work the principles, eventually, typically for most people, what happens is your weight will stabilize. Now, that doesn't mean maintaining a weight that you achieved through intentional weight loss, because that intentional weight loss could be a weight that is actually below your genetic blueprint plus your lifestyle preferences. It's below your set point. Does that make sense? If you're truly working the 10 principles of intuitive eating day after day, week after week, month after month, your weight will stabilize somewhere. But will it stabilize at your thin ideal? Will it stabilize at the vision and preference you have for your body? Probably not. Maybe, okay? But you can't have that be the outcome that you seek through doing intuitive eating. You have to be the outcome. It has to be that the outcome you're seeking is healing your relationship with body and food for good. Now, I understand that this is a really challenging topic. I understand that this can be very triggering. I understand that you could have a ton of resistance to this conversation. I just spoke with somebody who was like, I know that I want this healing journey. I know that intuitive eating is the path. I'm still worshiping the thin ideal. I still want my body to look different. I'm not ready for this journey yet. That's very normal. So if that's where you're at, I just want to normalize your experience and where you're at, and just understand that it could take you months. It could take you years to be ready to do this healing work. It took me a long time to be ready to do this healing work. So have compassion and grace for yourself wherever you're at, but just start to think about this. If you are like, well, I still want to pursue weight loss, but this is kind of interesting, Heather, keep listening, okay? Keep exposing yourself to these alternative ways to think about your relationship to body and food. Okay, so I also want to talk about that I think we have this thinking pattern where we automatically equate weight loss to health. So people might say, well, Heather, I get that, but I actually need to lose weight for my health. My doctor told me so. My weight's too high. I'm technically obese, all these things, okay? A few things I want to talk to you about this. Weight is not a behavior, right? Okay? You don't do weight. You can go for a walk. You can eat some vegetables. You can go to sleep at the same time every night. You can do some yoga. Those are behaviors that you have direct control over. You actually do not have direct control over your weight. Have you noticed that? Okay. You actually don't have control over like your bones and the size and weight of your organs and the size and weight of your muscles. This is one thing I learned through years of pursuing CrossFit and weightlifting. Like I was busting my butt in the gym and working on my nutrition, all these things. Guess what? Like my body didn't dramatically change. It did not dramatically change shape. Okay. The body that I have is very consistent with my genetic blueprint, which has been in place since around my teenage years. As women, you have your girl body and then you have your woman body. And as you go through puberty and adolescence, your body changes. And the blueprint for your adult female body is really laid in your teenage years, right? Like you can see that body emerge and evolve. The size of my hips is the same as it's been since I was 15. My height has been the same, right? My fat distribution has been the same. My muscle mass has been about the same, right? So I share this because I think a lot of people think they have way more control over their physique than they actually do, and way more control over their health than they do. And this may also be a message that you resist. You may want to believe that you have way more control over your health than you do. Why? It makes you feel safe. It's very uncomfortable to think about that, like you have little control over your health and that you could have a heart attack at any moment, right? Or that you could develop diabetes or you could have a stroke. It's uncomfortable and it is alarming to think those thoughts. So what's easier and safer for us and relieves anxiety is to believe that we do have control over these health outcomes. Now, are there things that you can do to improve your health? Yes, but those are behaviors. It's not an outcome like weight. So I want you to start to disentangle outcomes and behaviors. So for example, while a lower weight may be correlated with less chronic health conditions, that doesn't necessarily mean that the lower weight caused the improvement in health. So if there was actually a very well done research study, they would actually look at, and which is basically impossible to do because you can't really control like same person's body in two different scenarios. But what I think would be really interesting is to actually just have people not focus on weight loss in any of these studies. Have them just focus on behaviors. Have them focus on movement that they enjoy. Have them focus on reducing stress. Have them focus on feeling their hunger and eating to fullness. Have them focus on improving their spiritual and emotional lives. Have them do all those things. Then measure their blood work. Then measure their blood pressure and see if there's been a change. And guess what? You can 100% change health markers without losing weight. So if you think that you need to start with weight loss in order to focus on your health, I'm here to tell you that there's a whole other way that you can think about that. Actually, losing weight can create a lot of stress on the body and actually cause harm. How? 1, intentional weight loss can actually also cause muscle loss. When you are in weight loss, your body is in what's called a catabolic state. It's breaking down tissue. Your body, it's really hard for your body just to break down fat. It tends to break down muscle as well. Also, when you're pursuing intentional weight loss, you are technically going through a form of short-term starvation. Now, there's different ways to approach weight loss. Definitely, if you're not feeling hungry, then your body may just be slowly adjusting down to its set point. Okay, if you're truly just listening to your hunger and your fullness and you've started some kind of workout routine that you love, your body may just start to naturally change. But notice how, like I mentioned, like it's not intentionally pursuing it. It's not the goal. It's like, no, the goal is tuning into my body signals, being really tuned into my body. I call this body attunement. And so when you are being fully attuned to your body will settle at its set point. And what actually creates health is so much deeper than like the size of our body, y'all, right? Also, health is not just physical. Health is holistic. Health is mental, emotional, social, relational, spiritual. I see so many people talk about physical and mental health, but I see very few people talk about spiritual health, relational health. These things are absolutely key to our well-being in life and protective against many chronic diseases. So I want you to get away from thinking that your health is solely determined by your physical self and or even your weight or your size. Health is so much deeper than that, okay? Also, weight loss can cause harm because you are now pursuing a dieting lifestyle, a dieting mindset, and you're setting yourself up for mental health challenges that can cause a lot of physical challenges, right? If you are a chronic dieter, you're probably more at risk for anxiety and depression. And those types of things can then disturb your sleep, which can increase your stress. Stress can impact the endothelial lining of your arteries, which increases your risk of heart disease and heart attack, okay? So I want you to start to get that actually pursuing intentional weight loss could actually create stress in your body and potentially worsen your health for you, okay? So if you are just thinking you need to lose weight for health, I hope that this kind of helped you rethink that a little bit. Look, I get if you still want to pursue intentional weight loss, especially if you're young. You may not have 20 years of experience dieting like I did. You may be at the beginning of your dieting history, and so you aren't experiencing some of these negative effects yet. You may still be under the myth and the illusion and the fantasy of weight loss and thinness leading to things that you want in your life. You may be under this fantasy that you can truly change your body long term. The longer that you diet, the easier it is to see the illusion. The older you get, the wiser you get, the more life experience you get, you start to see the damage that this myth and fantasy can start to contribute to your life, okay? So just remember that if you think you're going to just transition to intuitive eating after losing weight, you're actually setting yourself up for more yo-yo dieting and weight cycling. Okay, if you've modified how you're eating and or moving your body solely to pursue weight loss, what will happen is once you've achieved your weight loss, you will slowly go back to your old habits, okay? You just will. If it's not actually a natural preference that you have or something that you've really integrated, then you'll just go back to that. Like I've been doing walks now for probably, 7-8 years consistently. I just love to walk. So I don't walk to lose weight. Now, one of the things is walking does strengthen my legs, it does burn fat, it does all those things. So because that's a natural habit for me, it's going to potentially impact my physique long term. But you can't add in a habit that you don't actually have a natural preference for and expect to maintain it unless it's something that has just naturally developed for you as a preference. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So I want you to really think about today, I want you to think about, okay, do I want to get off the yo-yo dieting and weight cycling merry-go-round? Do I want that or not? Okay. Do I actually consider the effect that pursuing intentional weight loss, the negative effect it can have on my stress levels and my mental and emotional health? Okay. How do I define health? Am I just defining health in a very narrow window, thinking it's just physical? Or am I thinking of all of the different dimensions of health, including emotional, spiritual, relational, mental health as well, financial health, right? I want you to think about, how do I want to create health for myself? So first, how do I define health? But then how do I want to create health? Well, for me, creating health looks like habits of, prioritizing my spiritual relationships, prioritizing my relationship with God. It looks like prioritizing my sleep and my wind down routine every night. It looks like spending time with friends and family and having peace with food and not obsessing. It looks like stopping eating when I'm full and honoring when I'm hungry. It involves sunlight and doing things that make my soul feel good. Right? So that's like how I create health. So I want you to think about how you want to create health for yourself. So if you are sick of yo-yo dieting and weight cycling, if you are ready to get off the merry-go-round, then that's what I do. That's my coaching program, Body Attunement. That's what it's called. And it's all about healing your relationship to body and food at a deep level using the 10 tools of intuitive eating. Actually becoming a masterful practitioner of intuitive eating, where it becomes effortless and simply how you live by the end of our time working together. I am currently accepting a few clients for August. I'm just working with a couple of women in August. So if this sounds like something that you want for yourself, then I invite you to book a call with me via the link in my Instagram bio. When you go to book a call, you'll get access to my calendar. You can pick a time. You'll answer a few quick questions so I can learn more about you. And then we'll just get on the phone and chat. So I can learn more about you. You can learn more about the program. We can see if it is the next best step for you. If it's not, then we'll brainstorm what is the next best step for you. Remember that wherever you're at in your journey to heal your relationship to body and food is perfect. Don't beat yourself up wherever you're at. Just have grace and compassion for yourself. Have patience and understand that you can do this work. You can let go of chasing the thin ideal. You can find peace with food. You can stop yo-yo dieting. You can learn to accept the body that you have. Imperfections and all, however you define those, right? Like, imperfection is just an amorphous term. Who even can define what's an imperfection or not? Thank you so much for tuning in today. I really look forward to hearing what your biggest takeaway from this topic was. So feel free to send me a message on Instagram at Heather McConaughey and let me know what was most helpful. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I so appreciate you. If you've been a loyal listener to the podcast, if you love the podcast, or you've just found benefit from even just one episode or one thing I've shared, would you consider please leaving a rating and review of the podcast? It helps more women discover this content. And I've been shocked to discover how few people actually know about intuitive eating and or truly understand what it is and what it's about. And so I really want to spread that message to more women. So when you rate and review the podcast, it helps me reach more women with this empowering message. I really look forward to talking to you in our next episode. And until then, stay attuned to your body, and I will talk to you soon.